A lot of men and women out there struggle with dating in modern times. This graph shows a common issue that I think a lot of people use as an excuse, that men use as an excuse for why dating is so difficult. They say that women are super picky, and I don't think that's true, even though this graph displays that to be true. Across the bottom, you have attractiveness score, so just rating women rating men on how attractive they find them, and men rating women on how attractive they find women. Probably must be like a 1 to 10 ranking was probably how the polling data was taken, and then obviously it's compared to their matches on dating apps is what this is focusing on specifically in this graph. Now this shows that women on dating apps are far more likely to pursue the top like 20% of men, especially the top 10%. But what makes them the top 10% of men? Like, yeah, if you're rating them solely off of physical attractiveness, then that kind of makes a lot of sense, and that also lends itself to using dating apps. Dating apps, you make a quick profile. Most dating apps don't even have as much as one sentence as to your personality. Some people care enough to post their hobbies, their interests, things that they do. They're a little bit more detail about what career they're in, places they've lived, places they've traveled. But realistically, most do not, or it's the absolute like bare minimum. So all this graph is really representing is that in the context of these dating apps, which, let's be honest, most of them are used kind of how Tinder is used, in the sense that it's mostly just to hook up. Like, I've dated people from various apps, and most of the time they're not too serious about a relationship, and usually the ones who are very strange people, and like off the wall strange individuals. So the huge majority of users are using it just to hook up with people. So of course they're going to more frequently match with who they find the most attractive. And men typically are willing to go for that lower range of attractiveness and hook up with them, just because that's kind of the way men are. Like, I think we all understand that that's how men are. So if you look at this graph, you would think that it's women that are skewing it to these top 10% of men having so much success on these apps. But I actually feel like it's men who are skewing it to be a more even distribution, right? Like, I get it. I get the concept that people throw out, that like men are more attracted to women than women are attracted to men. And yeah, of course, that's always been the reality. That's why women have, for the longest time, had that like power in relationship. That's what gives them power in relationships, right? That's always been the case. This isn't something that just developed out of nowhere because of people using cell phones and social media and dating apps, and society has dramatically changed all of a sudden. No, this has always been the case. This exact graph, it basically existed in society well before dating apps. And dating apps skew this obviously worse than the reality, because dating apps' sole purpose is to just meet up with somebody to hook up with as soon as possible, right? If you've used dating apps successfully at all, you completely understand that. So this graph being specific to do with dating app matches really has nothing to do with dating. Dating apps are kind of a joke. You need to be asking people out in person, or even through like regular social media. You're going to have way more success. You're going to be able to actually converse and get to know the person. Granted, people can like have catfish accounts or whatever, or even meeting in person, they can kind of lie about themselves. In theory, somebody could give you a fake name or false details about themselves, and people do lie. I've experienced that, where people tell many, many lies about themselves, and they get away with it just because they're not like close with their family. They don't have those people around them to like keep them in check. So please, no one out there use graphs like this as an excuse to why it's just hopeless, why it's just doomed. Understand that women care way less about physical attractiveness, right? Obviously, you look at this graph and it shows completely the opposite, but remember, this is just an app that people use to hook up with each other, one night stands. It's got nothing to do with dating, it's got nothing to do with relationships. Like dating, women have totally different interests than they do going out and hooking up with somebody, right? Same with men, right? Like just as it's true for women, look at this graph, genuinely look at it, and look at men's perception of women. Men are going for the top 10% of women as well, and men like typically understand more than anybody that, you know, men understand just as much as women that these apps are mostly just for hooking up. We can stop pretending that it's not the case, because it is. Definitely don't use this as an excuse to say, oh, it's just hopeless. Women will like sit there and not date a guy because he's a Pisces, or he's a like something so tiny and meaningless, like, oh, I don't date guys who don't have tattoos. I don't date guys who do have tattoos. I don't date guys who such and such. Like, it's such like random seemingly criteria. It's so fickle. Like, you're gonna find a woman who's into the specific thing that you are. Like, there's women out there who are into big fat bearded guys, into skinny guys, into like K-pop guys, into guys who are like nerdy guys, like old nerdy dudes, like in the muscle bound guys, the guys who are into whatever such thing. There's all kinds of women out there who are interested in all kinds of men, right? A lot of them have very particular tastes, and if you don't fall into that whatever woman's particular taste, then guess what? There's tons of women out there, and guess what, women? There is tons of other men out there who will be into you, right? Like, women could use this exact graph as an excuse as to why it's hopelessness, and I'm sure they do, right? They see the graph that's also for them heavily skewed to the top 10%, the top 20%. But to just use that as an excuse to act like there aren't people out there who are interested in you, it's just not true. There are people interested in you. I don't care who you are. You have had several people in your life who are interested in you. Unless you've just been like homeschooled your entire life and you've never interacted with other people, I guarantee you there are people who have had a crush on you. People who wish that you asked them out. There are people out there, right? And you can find those people, but you gotta keep looking. You can't give up. You can't look at statistics like this and just assume that they verify this idea you already have in your head. You need to really analyze them. Think about what they're really displaying here. Think about what matches on dating apps even genuinely represent. Almost nothing to do with dating and relationships. Basically nothing, right? It's just an excuse, and you can't live your life stopping yourself from progressing and advancing and meeting new people based off of random goofy stats